Good morning. My name is Dr. Gail Nunley Bland, and I'm the interim chair of pediatrics. On behalf of the Department of Pediatrics, I'd like to welcome you to the 10th Annual International Conference on Stigma, Youth Power, Up for a Stigma-Free Future. We have exciting topics and distinguished speakers for a very informative day on understanding and reducing stigma. I would like to thank Dr. Rana for his passion regarding this cause, the committee members who worked hard in putting this symposium together, and the sponsors and partners for this conference that are listed in your program booklet. Purpose of this event is to bring awareness and reduce the stigma to individuals who, by their particular circumstance, gender, illness, race, belief, or religion, who are stigmatized. Kudos to the Stigma Art Contest winners who created the fantastic artwork. I was really admiring that in the hospital. Thank you, guests, for attending. We will now have greetings from Dr. Anthony Wuto, Provost and Chief Academic Officer at Howard University.
Good morning. It is certainly my honor and my pleasure to bring greetings on behalf of the entire Howard University community. I want to first take the opportunity to thank Dr. Rana and his team for their commitment and their efforts in making sure that this conference has gone on to attain the status that it has. I've been an HIV researcher. It came to my mind this morning for over 25 years now. And my first project assessed access to antiretroviral therapy among Maryland AIDS patients, particularly among African Americans. And one of the things that I concluded as a result of that project was many patients in Maryland were not accessing therapy because of stigma and because of fear of their condition being made known. And so 25 years later, we've made progress. But the reason why this conference is so important is that we have not made all of the progress that we need to make. And there is still a significant impact on individuals because of stigma that they face in the workplace, in their families, in their churches. And so I want to thank you for being here. I want to particularly thank my colleagues with the DC Center for AIDS Research and other colleagues who are here. I hope that we really can continue to make a difference and make an impact in the lives of people. I will have to excuse myself and attend to another meeting, but I certainly plan on coming back. So again, thank you, Dr. Rana. Thank you each for being here, and we look forward to Howard University continuing to partner with you to make a difference in the lives of the people we touch. Thank you again, and good morning.
Hello again. I want to introduce you to my friend. Come on up here. This is her first time performing, and her name is Sanaa Stephen, and she's from Duke Ellington High School of Performing Arts. And yes, she is a sophomore, and so we wanted to make sure the music was correct. Can't see back there. And so we weren't sure what selection was going to play first. And I wanted to I know she's a little nervous, her support system right now. So are we ready, guys?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, yes, we are ready, but are we ready with the music? Thank you. Ms. Dr. Khan, are we waiting? Oh, here we go.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, yeah. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. It is
Now that was beautiful. Yes, for her first time ever performing. Come on now. Great job. So let's start again. Good morning, everyone. Okay, I can't hear you. Good morning. Okay. And again, that was so beautiful. I was taken back. I wasn't sure what she was going to sing, and she was nervous, but once she started singing, I am Lisa Fager-Bediaco, your host for today. I was your host 10 years ago also. So this has been a great full circle. When I started volunteering with the conference, I was overseeing a 7-year CDC-funded HIV initiative for the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. That project has ended several years ago, but HIV is still here, and so am I. I want to welcome our new and old friends that come to the Stigma Conference back to Howard University in our 10th year. It was here in 2009 that we began this journey, and here we are again today. And I just keep thinking about all the friends that I've met, and it's been 10 years, and none of Dr. Rana's children are living at home anymore. I'm like, goodness, they've all graduated. It's an amazing thing to see how we've all grown, and so has this conference. I want to thank you. I want to thank all the volunteers that have put this together. I'm not sure if you know, but this conference is a total volunteer effort. They don't use a professional conference group to put this together. What you see here and the leading volunteers, the doctors, the nurses, the researchers, medical professionals, medical students, they are the primary organizers of this awesome event every year. Think about that. They work the long hours every day, and then their free time, they get to organize this event for everyone and anyone who's interested in tackling stigma around the world. Dr. Rana, Patricia Houston, Cynthia Gibson, Sahir Iqbal, and their core conference committee are to be commended for their dedication and commitment to addressing stigma. I want to thank you to our sponsors and partner organizations, Howard University School of Social Work, Howard University Hospital, Gilead Sciences, DC Health, AIDS Healthcare Foundation, DC Developmental Center for AIDS Research, Until There's a Cure, the National Organization of Black County Officials, Rana Pediatric Fund, Digital Conventions, the DC Department of Health. Good morning to our online family. We have for 10 years have webcast and streamed live this conference, and we are again today. I invite everyone to spread the word. We can be found at whocanyouTell.org. Follow us on Twitter at whocanyouTell, and send comments and questions using hashtag #EndStigma2019 and hashtag Stigma2019. When you registered, you should have received your packet booklet. It includes the agenda and bios of everyone here speaking today. If you didn't have time to check out the exhibits that are downstairs, please make sure you do so sometime today. The theme this year is Youth Power Up for a Stigma-Free Future. Youth, yes. We have a great conference for you today, experts both on the stage and in the audience. Before we get officially started, let's go over some housekeeping. Make sure you signed in. I know there was volunteers, medical students, and those who are attendees. We all need you to sign in. You should have received a raffle ticket. Be sure to hold on to them. There'll be 3 raffles, one for $50, one for $75, and one for $250. You have to be present. Restrooms are located downstairs and I believe on this level. Please take all your trash with you. It did not come in here by itself, and it should not stay here. Please throw it away. Howard University usually does not allow people to eat in here, so they are allowing us to, so we want to be very respectful and make sure we take care of this historic place. Please make sure you fill out your evaluation forms today. And lastly, please put your cell phones on vibrate or mute. We don't want to interrupt anyone today. So now for Dr. Rana. since we switched things around, I'm going to bring Dr. Rana up here to give his official welcome and to welcome the rest of the folks on the agenda on the welcome. He has been providing, Dr. Rana has been providing care to children and young adults living with HIV for almost 30 years in the DMV. He is a professor of pediatrics and child health at Howard University School of Medicine. Please welcome our conference founder and director, Dr. Rana.
How many of you believe in angels? Raise your hands. Pretty much everybody. You know, it was about 10 years ago that Khadija Tribble said, Dr. Rana, you keep talking about stigma. Why don't you do something about it? And Patty was there, and we were sitting around. I said, what should we do? He said, why don't you hold a conference? And this was June. And let's hold a conference for World AIDS Day. I said, oh, yeah? She said, yeah. I said, how can we do it? She said, you can do it. I know. And then she walked out. I don't think we saw her much after that. But God sent many angels. Some angels I work with, some angels I live with. And God sent special angels, and Lisa was one of those. You know, here there was no money, nothing. We were looking at a budget of 50, 60, 70,000, and Lisa walked in, and she said, yeah, Dr. Rana, we can do it. And I didn't know her. None of us knew her, but she heard about it, and she walked in, and rest is history. So Lisa, thank you very much. Please give her a hand. She's been there all along. You know, you see all this. This is a whole year of effort. And there are many, many wonderful people who worked very hard. And if I take one name, you know, I leave out many. But it would be really terrible and sad if I don't mention one name first, and that's Patty. Could you stand up? She does it all. She truly does it all. And I honestly, in every support system wherever I've needed, my wife has been there every step of the way with her checkbook, with her love, with her affection. And you saw her at registration, and she's been there every. Gila, stand up. I'm very blessed with a wonderful team in our office. I'm a hematologist. We become a little anemic, but each year, God sends us new angels. and we manage to do it. And today is no exception. I look forward to a conference better than ever before. Every one of the conferences previously has been better than before, and I look at the agenda and everything, and I know it is going to be totally awesome. Actually, I should have, I have to share this with you. Nana, stand up. You know, I asked Nana, I said, you know, I run short of words. Could you send me 25 synonyms for awesome? And she did send me a file which I couldn't open, but finally managed to open, and I had to handwrite it because printer wasn't working. So if I could combine all of those, you know, first of all, let me thank you all, and those of you who are joining. I know Asimwe and Linus, they've been texting me. They are watching from Uganda and Cameroon. There are people from Nigeria. There are people from Pakistan who are watching this live. I think the last adjective maybe summarize all. You guys are all fantabulous. So let's give a hand to everybody who is here. It takes a lot to get here. It's not easy. Even those who work here, for them to come here, you guys are totally awesome. Could we move on to the next slide? Actually, I was standing right here, and some of you have heard the story, but you know, as long as I continue to choke up when I tell this story, I'm going to keep telling this story. Chelsea, that's not her real name. She was my patient since she was probably 2 or 3 years of age. We were doing clinical trials for HIV. She participated in every clinical trial, and things were doing well because somebody was making her take medicine. She continued to take medicines until she hit 15, 16, 17. And things started to become a little lax. She had never told anybody about her HIV because her grandma told her not to. But something that bothered her greatly, that when she was at home, they kept her dishes separate. They would clean after her with a Lysol wipe. Her father would. They kept everything separate. So it bothered her, but nothing like this. She had only one best friend, and that was her cousin. But she had never shared her diagnosis with her friend, and she managed one day, they were chilling, and she managed to tell her diagnosis to her best friend and her cousin. Her friend was very sympathetic. She patted her on the back and said, "Oh, we'll handle it together, you're great." And Chelsea felt good, and then she got up to leave, and she moved toward her cousin to hug her, which that was their routine. Each time they hugged. Except that this time, her cousin moved back. And there was this look in her cousin's eye that totally broke Chelsea. Chelsea stopped taking her medications. She argued with me, "Dr. Rana, why should I live? I had only one best friend. Nobody would ever, ever love me. Why do you want me to live?" And she really never took her medication after that. And 2 years later, she died. And she didn't die of HIV because by that time, there were 24 excellent medications. She could have lived a normal life. She died of stigma of HIV. And tears still come to my eyes when I think about Chelsea, because she used to call me Dad, and her dad it lingered. There were like 4 Ds at the end. She would say, "Dad," she was very, very funny, and I miss her very much. Over the years, we've gotten to know hundreds of mothers with HIV, probably 100 children with HIV. Many of them have grown up with me. Some of them may come today, but it is very hard to get them to come. You know what they ask? They say, "Dr. Rana, does the camera take picture of audience too? Would I be caught on camera?" And these are people, some of them openly talk about HIV, but they don't want to be outed on camera. They don't want to be outed on Facebook. They don't want anybody to make them look ugly or dirty or something. And that sad truth continues. Next slide, please. So stigma, last 2 weeks, I went around with $10 in my pocket, and I stopped at every table at cafeteria, probably 10 days in a row, and I said, "If you can describe stigma to me in 1 minute, you can have this $10. Sad part is, I still have those $10 in my pocket. We don't get it. We really don't get it. We don't get what stigma is. And people, Michael, you excluded. So people who are most responsible for preventing HIV don't get it. They use language. As physicians, as researchers, as healthcare administrators, as a government, as an official, responsible for health of community, the public health, we suck, or in Shakespearean language, we suck it, right? At healthcare communication. When we pass information about health, we do a very poor job, and we end up doing what? Creating fear, because there is so much unknown whenever a new infection comes around, and that fear does not go away. One of the NBC reporters called me a couple of days ago. Sholan hooked us up. And he was working on an embargoed story about a new study of young people coming out of high school and people in their 20s and 30s. And you know what the survey showed? Survey showed 30% of them would not hug a person with HIV. They would not sit in the bus with them. And if they could help it, they would have nothing to do with them. And this was a scientifically conducted survey in United States. Our survey 2-3 years ago, supported by DC Department of Health, showed that 60% of physicians, healthcare workers, they have some form of stigmatizing attitude toward people with HIV. In the South, that figure goes up to 80%, unfortunately. And, you know, it hasn't changed 35 years later, 40 years later. Because, why? Because we spend 20, 30, 40, $50 billion a year on medication, pharma, right? We spend so much money on clinical trial, but when you look at the money spent to what matters, how we treat humans with HIV, how we treat humans with other stigmatized illnesses, it is not even pennies. I mean, sometimes it doesn't even reach $1 million. So it's really, really sad when you compare it. Not even 1 or 2% of total budget compared to what we spend on medication. But who would take medication? You know, people are afraid to go pick up the medication. Who would find out that I was picking up this medication? People are afraid to store the medication in their refrigerator. And physicians, medical students, residents, in their innocence, ask those kinds of questions which completely turn off the patient, make them break down. We had somebody here 10 years ago who came and talked, and she said, my doctor looked at my diagnosis and they looked at me and said, how did you get it? And she broke down, she walked away, never to go back to doctor. Why? Because she had been raped. And every time somebody asked her that question, she totally broke down. Her PTSD, her panic attack came back. So unless somebody would sensitize me to those kinds of situations, I would continue to stink as a doctor, right, in the eyes. But unfortunately, these stories keep repeating because we think it's not me. You know, I'm the most humane of physicians. We all think that way. But unless we do something about it, problem would continue. This young lady, and this is a real lady, she found out at the time, just before delivery, that she had HIV infection. It didn't bother her. She had plenty of other problems. And they had told her that she was going for C-section tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Come 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And she said, you know, they convinced me to undergo a C-section. What's happening? She says, oh, we are still trying to find a doctor who would operate on you. And that day, every time she walked into that hospital, she said she gets panic attacks. She said, Dr. Anna, I don't dislike you, but, you know, I start getting panic attacks when I walk into any healthcare facility because they made me feel untouchable. They made me feel dirty. They made me feel filthy. Let's move on. So what is stigma? Next time somebody asks you, it's devaluation. You know, it's when because I'm too short, I'm too tall, I'm too skinny, I'm too fat, I have HIV, I have addiction, I've been to jail, I'm poor, I'm black, I'm white, I'm yellow, I'm brown. And we all have our stigma. And I remember Phil Wilson 2 years ago standing here and talking, and I cried. He said, we all know our stigmas. And we care about them very much. See, our heart breaks. We are all broken. But we as humans fail when we forget to feel other people's stigmas. And that's the crux of the matter. That Martin Luther King said beautifully, and I'm paraphrasing him, he says, how can you talk about human rights? How can you talk about equal? And he was talking about his own people. He says, you know, if you cannot cry about a Vietnamese child dying from bombing by US, you're not human in my eyes. So we need to work on ourselves to see how we look at other people. And you see all the different kind of stigmas, but ultimately it is fear, blame, and then people assuming this shame that make them hide their diagnosis if they could, and some people end up dying with that shame into their grave. Next slide, please. Could we move? So, move on, we talked about. Move on. So, why Stigma Conference 10 years later? Because nothing has changed. Really nothing has changed when it comes to how we look at people with HIV, how we look at people with mental illness, how we look at people who are poor or who have addictions. Let's go on, next slide. I want to end, I was sitting right there. This was our first story. Our keynote speaker was Dr. Solomon. And this was the last story she told. Dr. Solomon, if you don't know her, she established the biggest HIV treatment center in Chennai, India, from the beginning of the epidemic. And she took care of, at any one time, 5,000 to 10,000 patients with HIV there. Very caring person. She also worked on stigma. And she told this story. She said, this young lady I had taken care of, she had gotten HIV from her mother, and she was living with it, and she got engaged because all the marriages are arranged. Nobody in the family knew. She got engaged. This guy really liked her. And she said, I don't know what to do. How can I get married and him not know that I have HIV? So Dr. Solomon said, you know, let me see if I can try to tell him. So she got them together. If I choke, please bear with me. And she very factually told the boy she has HIV infection, but she's on medication and it's in total control. The guy kept staring at her, staring at Dr. Solomon. And then suddenly he got up and ran away. And Dr. Solomon said, I felt yuck. I said, oh my God, I messed up so bad. What did I do? You know, I destroyed this poor girl's life. And she was crying. She says, you know, now the whole family would know what's going to happen. Dr. Solomon was choking. Suddenly the door opened, and the guy walked back in. And he said, I want to marry you more than ever before. And he had a bouquet of roses in his hand. So this was her story. Dr. Solomon passed away in 2015. So there are people that love those roses, they will always make a difference. So, dear friends, dear colleagues, dear seniors, love is the only hope. Stigma really kills, believe me. Thank you so much for being here. God bless you all.